Every CEO that I meet is dealing with a fury of stuff on their plate. Hiring, people, firing, making that next decision, a new tool, you name it. And it gets exhausting. But here's the deal. Being a CEO doesn't need to be so hard. It actually can be pretty simple. And it really all comes down to three things. And when you get these things right, you build a successful company. But when you get them wrong, you're building a business that is insanely fragile and probably going to die. Over the last 17 years, I built 4 profitable, successful companies, and I've learned this 3-part framework for going and being an effective CEO. I'm gonna go and break down this framework in a private room here of 25 high-growth CEOs, helping them go and scale their founder-led brands and remove themselves from operations here in Bali, Indonesia. This was a private, invite-only event, but I figured, why not just bring you into the room with me? Let's get into it. I talk to a lot of founders, and I think a lot of you guys are looking to go from kind of chaos to clarity, right? And go from sort of overwhelmed operators to CEOs. And at the end of the day, there's really only 3 things that a CEO should be worried about as you scale up. And that's probably kind of crazy to some of you. You're like, only 3 things? I feel like I'm doing like operations and content and audience growth, and I'm hiring people and delegating, and I got to fire someone next week. Like, what the hell are you talking about? 3 things. I got like at least 300 on my plate, Matt. So what the hell are these 3 things I'm speaking about right now? The 3 things are numbers, people, and culture. Numbers, a lot of time I talk to founders, they're doing like say over $200,000 a month. They've hired someone, they've put another person on a certain commission. They have, another person, they've worked this intricate base salary plus a tiered system as to what they're getting paid. And then I'll ask that founder, so what profit are you doing per month? And what are you hoping to get to by the end of 2026? And after kind of stirring on it and they start blushing a little bit, they're like, I don't know. I think that can be a kind of a scary place to be, honestly. And I say that as someone that's been in that position, because at the end of the day, it's kind of terrifying building something and working as hard as a lot of you guys do. If when you look a year from now, you actually don't even know where you're trying to get to. The second piece is the people. I know there's a lot of different kind of niches here and different business models that you guys are running, although there's also a lot of similarities as well. The reality is it doesn't matter what business model you're in and what industry you're in, you guys are all, and so myself included, we're in the people business, right? We're managing people, we're serving people, and the better we are at that, right? In terms of like hiring amazing people, getting really good at delegation, getting clear on expectations and scorecards and promotions and incentives, the better that sort of people apparatus of your company is going to be. And, the more you're able to tap into like the full potential of that like team you've got. A lot of founders I speak with, they don't really think about this that much. They don't have a systemized way of looking at the kind of people aspect of their business. And sure enough, when you kind of dig into it a bit, it becomes pretty obvious that they're only tapping into their company's like potential up to like say 30, 40%. And there's so much more they could be doing there if they just started unlocking different aspects of it. Proper delegation, proper incentives, all that good stuff. The third aspect is the culture. I'm not talking about like ping pong tables or random field trips with the team. I'm talking about like what your values are and how you make sure that the values are part of like everyday life in terms of how you reward people in the company, how you give praise, also how you give feedback if things are not going well. Inevitably, your values are kind of the code of your culture. And if you're not clear on those, what can happen is as you scale, you kind of revert to the mean, meaning your company over time just becomes kind of mediocre, which is the default if you don't get this right. So we're going to get into numbers, people, and culture. When I think about the numbers aspect of a business, the first hire that I made when I started Founder OS 4 years ago, talked about how initially it's called Soulful Entrepreneur, this cohort-based course, about 30 people in any given cohort. It went for 6 weeks. I did 2 of those, ended up rebranding it to Founder OS, making it more evergreen, moving it to school, kept on compounding to 4 years later. Here we are now. The first hire that I made at Soulful Entrepreneur way back then was a guy named Georgie, who's actually the longest running Founder OS employee. He was running all of the books, all of the accounting, all the invoicing, all the modeling. What I've learned from building businesses for like 15 years is like, if you don't get the finance piece right, you're very much flying blind. If you're watching this video, you likely could use a simple checklist to help you go and implement all of the core tactics I'm going through across numbers, people, and culture. And so what I've gone and prepared here is a CEO dashboard checklist for you. All the core things that I think about when it comes to cash, profit, my growth engine, audience. You can go and get all of this via the link in the description. Just go enter in your email and I'll go email this over to you so you've got it and you can go and implement this with your team right now. I give you things like how I hire people, my ownership tests, and then how I go and establish a high performance culture across my team, including how I also go and run all my meetings. And so you can go and get the Numbers People Culture Checklist via the link in the description. Go and download that right now and go and implement it in your team this week. Let's talk about how at least I view the differences between like a bookkeeper and a fractional CFO for a second, but then we'll just talk about what you really need in your business, okay? So a bookkeeper is typically the person that's doing all like the accounting, the invoicing, making sure you have like a profit and loss statement, you have a balance sheet, all the numbers are organized, and you're paying people on time, you know kind of the cash inflows and outflows, and everything's like clean from a financial standpoint. A fractional CFO oftentimes will work with your bookkeeper and then take those numbers and be the kind of person that can work directly with you to then sort of discern the implications of these numbers, which is what really matters. In your business, you may have something like, Michael brought up seasonality. You may be looking at, say, January, February, March of 2026 and trying to figure out what proper performance is going to be, what kind of goals you should be setting so you can figure out maybe sales bonuses for your sales team, or you can go and project how many people you want to go and onboard into your new offer or program. Well, that's the person that's going to understand, okay, well, this is what we did Jan, Feb, March of 2025, what we did in January, February, March of 2024, and then be able to give you kind of, okay, well, this is what we grew year over year last year. What do we think is realistic to grow year over year in this next quarter, Q1? And kind of be that sparring partner with the numbers so that you're actively making sure that decisions that you make inside your business are driven off of like what you've previously done and that they're basically based in like sound financial knowledge versus just kind of like licking your finger to the wind and going like, I think in Q1 we can do 500K. It's like you can still lick your finger to the wind and kind of like come up with that, but then it's good to have someone you can kind of stress test that with and go, okay, yeah, maybe that's crazy. Last year we did 300K in that period. The year before we did 250,000. Let's try to get to like 375,000, right? That feels like a nice step up. And then I can set maybe realistic goals with my team and build trust with my team that these numbers are actually based on a level of realism versus just some pipe dreams. Regardless though of whether you have a CFO as the title or you have a bookkeeper, the main thing that I think all of you guys should be looking at, especially as you're scaling from 30K to 50K a month to 100K a month to 200K a month, is you want to have someone that you can have those kinds of conversations with. When we think about building a business, right, there's like a few forms of leverage, right? You have, your media around you, which all of us are building because we're all building founder-led brands. You have, your people. You have your tech, but you also have your capital. And as you start to get more cash in bank, it's like you can go and make certain investments in your year that will maybe quadruple the cash in bank, or you can make investments that even cause you to lose money because you don't think through it right. So it's kind of making sure that you have that kind of steward there that's helping you make really sound, proper investments. Because as you keep scaling, I think you're actually more of an investor than you are an entrepreneur. And so having that right partner there to help you make good investments with your cash flows is super key. To change your mindset with this a little bit, when I first got doing this sort of shit, like 15 years ago, it was super intimidating. Despite going to business school, my eyes glazed over in accounting classes. I hate that shit. I started to kind of look at my rubrics, in the classes I could go and be part of in university. You get all these electives. I was like, as many finance ones as I could delete out, we deleted those. As many ones on like leadership, public speaking, motivating people, whatever, we added those ones in and kind of got a little more creative and got out of the numbers. When I started to have to kind of get into this aspect of business and really start to round out my thinking there, because I could no longer just elect to get out of finances, I started to view it as like you get your own kind of custom MBA on your own business every month. So like really trying to learn to like study your business, like enjoy it as if it's like a course you're going through on your own thing you're building, and just become a little obsessed around just the intricacies of it. And even if you don't understand it, a CFO, if you have a good relationship with them, can almost be like this like professor of your own finances, helping you just gradually get a better and more intricate understanding. And it's just this constant journey of like every week just trying to get the financial infrastructure of your business 10% stronger, collecting cash faster, delaying payables longer, making sure that you're collecting more cash up front, less payment plans, these sorts of things that just gradually, ever so slightly, increase the financial health of your business. Let's get on the people side of things. Where I see a lot of founders, things get a little messy, right? Is they've got like all these people that start joining their team. They don't have clear roles set out for them. There's not a clear onboarding set out.
They don't have clear kind of metrics as to like what success looks like for this person every week, every month, every quarter, every year. And sure enough, they end up with a team of say 8 to 9 people. It's chaotic, it's all over the place. And they quickly start looking around, and when they thought someone would be helping them actually drive marketing qualified leads, they thought someone would actually be helping them close deals, they're still the one panicking every night that they're not even sure whether their business is going to grow next week. And a bunch of these people that they brought on to bring them peace of mind are sleeping soundly at night while you're kind of having night terrors. And so I think what's really important, first off, with the people on your team, number one is that like you're getting clear beforehand on, the KPIs for each role. Like what are the, say 3 core metrics that you're going to use to judge that person's success. What I like to make sure of is like out of those, I generally pick the one thing that's like actually the most important, right? So let's just say I was bringing on someone for social media. The most important thing for me would be, okay, this person is driving us qualified inbound sales calls. If that person, I don't care whether they're growing our Instagram to 100,000 a month or 20,000 followers a month, although that's maybe one of the KPIs is Instagram growth, the one thing I actually care about is that they're setting my sales team up with inbound calls booked that my sales team can then close deals. If that's actually happening, I can sleep at night. We've got the KPIs, we've got the one thing. We then need to make sure that their onboarding is nailed down. Where I see too many people screw up is that their onboarding is way too lax. And this idea that you're bringing on people to your company to give you peace of mind, to go from overwhelm to clarity, from chaos to a level of peace. I think my own approach here is for it to be a bit of like, they're going through kind of an internal company university. You have all the core docs inside of your company, right? Over time, you're building things like your different offers. You've got maybe a 1-year plan or strategy of roughly where you're looking to go. Maybe you've got, your overall company org chart and the different kind of people on your team, what those people are responsible for, the decisions that they make. You want to make sure they can kind of get that lay of the land in the first couple weeks, be a student of your business and kind of get up to speed as to like, okay, this is what we operate. This is how things work around here. This is the different players in the company. These are our offers. This is the community. And for many of you that are running different communities and have actual courses and programs, they should be going through those in the first couple weeks. They should understand your product and they should understand the community. For some of the roles, especially if it's like customer success, marketing, sales, and by default, even just anyone should even just get on a few calls with customers, introduce themselves, get to know them a little bit, just to develop like a bit of an awareness as to like who these people actually are. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what role they're in the company, they're there to serve your core customer. And amidst like the day and age we live in where things are changing faster than ever, AI is taking over, all this kind of shit. The one thing that will be true today, that'll be true in 10 years and 50 years and 100 years, is that you'll always win if your customer is obsessed. Preferences are always going to change, but they're always going to want things like speed, convenience, quality. And if your team can all be obsessed with just understanding these people's needs, their wants, their desires, their dreams, their fears, all things considered, you're going to be okay. On the onboarding side, I think you then want to nail things like your meeting rhythms with these people. So depending on the department, meeting rhythms may be a bit different. An example meeting rhythm on a sales team would be 3 sales meetings a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, going over wins, going over projections, covering any issues that they're currently encountering, running through different objections that they're having troubles getting over, and making sure they're properly coached. On your creative or content team, you're probably having a weekly session with them, covering kind of what's working, what's not working, and what needs to improve. On your leadership team, you're probably having a Tuesday meeting each week, primarily focused around, okay, how are our metrics doing? Are there any issues or opportunities that come up? And then let's solve those things. If you're looking for just a meeting structure, no matter what, just that's like the simplest meeting structure for any of these department meetings, whether it's a leadership meeting all the way through to a marketing meeting or a sales meeting, the way to structure a meeting, 1 hour, start with wins. So it starts off with good vibes and kind of getting people all jazzed up. Then start getting into the metrics, reviewing how that department or the leadership team's metrics have been doing. And you cover that for 5 to 10 minutes, primarily focused on the metrics that are broken. So something's off track, you want to kind of name it and then work through that in the remainder of the meeting. Let's just say we were expecting to get a certain amount of marketing qualified leads or sales calls in a given week, and I'm on that leadership meeting and we're off the mark by 40%. We want to note that. And then in the remaining, basically 45 minutes of that meeting, we want to identify, okay, that's an issue. Is there any other issues we're currently dealing with? Everyone just goes and names all the issues, then go and rank the issues. What's the most important shit we should deal with here? All right, yeah, that qualified leads thing, that's a big fucking issue. Let's do that number 1. All right, what else? All right, let's move this one number 2. So quickly rank them so that you deal with the most important thing first and go work down the list. And then for the remaining 40 minutes of that meeting, you're just knocking down those issues one by one, developing solutions as a team, and then to-do lists for people, ideally documenting that to-do list. And then each week, just kind of keeping that rhythm going, making sure that every week the things that people commit to are complete. And then the next week, same deal, reviewing wins, reviewing metrics, what are the issues, opportunities, working through those as a team, creating a to-do list. Next week, did you get all the things done? You just keep repeating that. So that becomes an overall company meeting rhythm for the overall leadership team. And then you would have that for sales, for marketing, for content, for finance. That meeting rhythm is like going to allow you to avoid 80% of the issues from just having a simple check-in like that across the team. So then, on the people side too, some things to think about over time also are like incentives. Humans are incentive machines. So just thinking over time, what are you trying to get to as a company? Let's just say one of your main goals is like, we want to hit 500K profit a month or 200K cash collected. Maybe there's different bonuses or incentives you can create on the team for when you hit those core metrics. Or maybe you want your customer success team to get to 8 Trustpilot reviews in a month. Or maybe you want your sales team to get to an individual basis, each closer to get to 170K cash collected a month. Now that you have an understanding of your numbers, can you be using that now financial awareness to go and be able to confidently go and incentivize people and feel confident that like, okay, yeah, you're going to make your $80,000 a year base, but on a quarterly basis, if we cross this threshold, I'll give you $10,000 every quarter. So trying to create these like aligned incentives across the business that when you win, the people win as well. So the culture side, when I was running Herb in like 2015, it was about a year and a half after starting running things. I'd gone through a pretty massive hiring spree. I'd hired in the previous year, let's just say 20 people. I was around 25 years old. We had scaled the team up. Companies were raising like crazy. Canopy Growth had just crossed $1 billion valuation. Aurora and some other large companies had just crossed, billions. They were going to look to market with us at like, a $3 million contract that was about to close, a $2 million contract that was about to close. The Canadian market on October 5th of that year went and legalized, and everything kind of went downhill after Canadian legalization. Instead of the market just blowing up, it actually didn't end up being as big as people had thought. And it didn't actually become that big of a thing. And so the whole industry just started cratering. The contracts that I thought were coming in for $5 million evaporated. And here I was with like 20 people too many in the office. Not to mention too, when I looked over like the previous 4 months of even building this thing, I could feel the kind of pressure building. I knew things were getting kind of dicey. And when I would go to the team and when I looked over like to the left or to the right, when I was in meetings, these people were fucking oblivious. And not because, I was definitely talking and saying, hey, we got to figure some stuff out here, but they did not embody like a level of extreme ownership. They didn't actually care. I thought because they were chill, good people that they'd make a good team member. And I didn't really care too much about this. Oftentimes in a first interview, if someone like seemed really cool and, seemed legit and like a person I would hang out with, they were on. And I wasn't that strict with hiring and I wasn't that firm in terms of like my real values. I actually didn't even take that much time to think about the values that I had. That ended up being surrounded by a bunch of strangers in these dark moments versus being surrounded by a bunch of fucking warriors that could get through these kinds of moments. And so the only thing that I was left to do once it became this kind of dark month of October 10 years ago was one by one to go and fire 20 people one after the other that day. And it was probably at that point in my life, like the hardest professional thing I had to go through. That moment left some insane scars that I'm grateful for. And it taught me the importance of really being strict with the kind of culture and company you're looking to build. And so your culture is essentially just like the code of how you operate. More simply, it's like what you're going to tolerate in your company. And I think when you get this right, the goal that I always have in any company I'm building is that the culture self-governs itself. If someone comes on the team and they didn't embody the kind of cultural vibe that we all have, the values that we have, it wouldn't even take me pointing out that that person's not a fit. We would almost like cut them out as a company pretty quick and go like, hey, like that guy over there, like that's not going to work. And ideally, again, the culture can kind of self-govern. I could be taking a few weeks off and there's some hires being made and I could trust that my team's going to go and find people that embody those values and bring them on versus bringing on people that, are subpar. One thing on this that has inspired me is Mark Benioff in the book, like Into the Cloud, talks about one of the big breakthroughs he had when he was building Salesforce was he created a little card, almost like the size of a business card. It had the company's mission, it had their 5 core values, and what we do. It was just that. And it was on a card. He printed it off, gave it to every single person in his company. I think that a core part of your values is first off, like you got to write these things down. So even at Founder OS, like as part of the onboarding, we have a Founder OS 1-pager. It has our internal mission, our external mission, our vision. It has our values. Everyone goes through this as part of the onboarding. Now the question then becomes, okay, well, how do we kind of make it compelling? I think there's like 2 ways to make things compelling. There's like really make it motivating to do the things and then make it like hurt to not do the things, or whatever other word, pain or whatever there. So on the good side, it's like, which is most of the time, right? There's people doing a lot of good things in your company all the time. You got to kind of slow down for a second, I think, as the founder and CEO. And when you give praise to someone or you talk about something you're proud of in the company, relate it to a core value and bring it back to the mission. This is going to feel fucking weird to start off, right? Because it's like, oh my God, I just want to say so-and-so did a good job. And now I'm saying, hey, really love the fact that you cook it insanely simple today. Like this is just like giving me so much peace of mind, the level of like complexity you've eliminated, and for just kind of like dumbing things down so that we could all understand it. I appreciate it. It's like, maybe it feels more long-winded. Maybe it feels a little bit mechanical to say it like that. But the thing is, like, when you say it like that, number one, you're embodying that and being a role model of the values that you've set. Number two is that obviously there's a lot of people on your team that are like, they want praise, right? Everybody wants to feel like what they're doing is contributing to the broader mission of the company. And they also just want to make sure that you're taken care of as the founder. That's probably part of the reason why they work with you, right? Is that they care about you. Whether it's the person you're actually giving praise to or the others that are witnessing that praise, whether it's in Slack or in a meeting, everyone else is picking up on that signal you're setting. And if you're saying, hey, this was really good because it was insanely simple, then everyone's thinking, oh, Matt values things that are insanely simple. Or if I'm going and saying, hey, I really love the fact that like, that was a pretty big problem, but I appreciate you bringing a solution to it. They're going to think, oh, Matt really values bringing solutions, not just problems. Or if I'm like, man, I really love the fact that you went the distance with that video. Those animations were fucking insane. Such like elevated design. And I can tell you really went the distance. And like, did you spend tonight working on that? They're like, yeah. It's like, man, the obsession around quality is like nuts there. Well, what do people think that Matt values? Elevated design and obsessing over quality, right? Which all the 4 things I just mentioned are the values of Founder OS. And so it's taking a second to wrap the praise that you give people as an example around the values. So people start to kind of hear this constantly. They start to know that that's what you value as a leader. They understand that that's what the culture values. And sure enough, like everyone starts kind of embodying those things because that's kind of like how we do things. Now, the other side to that too is like maybe you've had to let someone go, or just on a more chill basis, like there's some feedback that needs to be given. Same way that you'd wrap praise around a value, you should also wrap feedback around some values, right? So, hey, like one big thing we're big on here is bringing solutions, not problems. It's all good. You're new. You're just getting to know the company here. But that said, you've just brought up a whack of problems. I need you to make this way more simple. So what's the solution here? And like, they're starting to see, okay, shit, I shouldn't just bring problems to this guy. I have to bring solutions. By constantly kind of sometimes repeating yourself there. I've heard Evan Spiegel, the founder of Snapchat, state this in a good way. Is like your job as the CEO is actually the chief context officer. Constantly giving people context as to like how you operate. Because people by nature aren't going to know that, right? Because oftentimes your company values are unique like a personality. And people aren't yet used to the personality of your team. So you have to educate them on that personality so that they gradually start to understand it. Ideally, you're also testing them in the interview process around these values. So the interview process, you're really looking for like 3 things: proven track record, alignment around your values, and that they embody the competencies you need for that role. Proven track record, alignment around the values, and the competencies that you're looking for in the role. Like you're going to try and kind of test people on these things to make sure that you're bringing on people that innately have a similar DNA to what you're looking to build your company off of. Appreciate it. And we'll just keep rocking here. Cool. Thanks, guys.